I'm now going to take this opportunity to introduce the Immigrant Project, a not-for-profit which was founded in 2019. The aim of the Immigrant Project is to empower immigrants by providing them with effective tools and meaningful connections to land their very first job. Our product offerings such as Show and Tell, which is a deep dive into domain-specific learning, Ask Me Anything, a live fireside chat, Job Hacks that provides hacks on networking, resume building, interviews, and the Immigrant Masterclass, which is interviews with expert immigrant professionals like Eva Yang, are free for all. Our parallel initiative, Tip for Change, will address the skills gap and labor market needs in India. This is the team behind the Immigrant Project. As you can see, we have grown from 3 to 8 people, and we're still growing. Joining me today is my co-host Bhargavi Reddy and our guest Eva Yang. As an immigrant to the United States, Eva has carved a niche for herself by being one of the first principal data scientists at Amazon. She has over a decade's experience in consumer and business analytics. Her recent experience has primarily been in enabling better decision-making and improving operations for Amazon's digital business. Good evening, Eva. We are so excited to have you.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here as well.
Awesome. So Eva, we want to start with, how did your professional journey begin in the United States? And what was your first job here? And how did you manage to move into Amazon and then be promoted to a principal data scientist that you are today?
Sure. I come to the state in 2011 for a graduate school. So I graduated in 2013. My first job, so before coming to US for graduate school, I was doing marketing research in China and then the surrounding area as well. And my first job after graduate school was still doing marketing research in Phoenix, Arizona for a trash hauling and recycling company called Republic Service. Some of you guys may have their trash can just outside of your house nowadays. I was there for probably 1.5 years. And then while I was working there, we don't have strong BI team to support the marketing and the business growth in general. That's when I started to learn this kind of like a domain area knowledge in general. After doing a little bit on that area, I think like we don't have enough data for me to have fun and then do more. One day it happened, one of the Amazon recruiter called me. I don't know how it happened, but then it just happened, and then offered me an interview opportunity. So I started to interview with Amazon. That's when I joined Amazon in 2015.
Oh, wonderful. I mean, that is amazing. I'm sure like the audience and even me, I'd like to know what is the difference between a BI engineer and a principal data scientist? What does principal even mean?
I think probably the difference between those probably first varies by company, by industry a lot. In Amazon, we added the data scientist job family earlier 2018. So after that, many BIE moved to data scientist job family based on like what they are doing, where do they want to grow in general. At this moment, my feeling probably, I guess everyone has their own answers. BI probably focus more on BI solution under big data, like how you provide a BI solution to give immediate business visibility on how the business is performing, like a factor data based. DS probably focus more on prediction or like a future growth area, and then deep dive in answering why. What is the reason cause this to happen? What is the reason cause that to happen? And then what's going to happen tomorrow? That's probably the high level understanding from my side.
Awesome, that's great. And so what does a day in the life of a principal data scientist really look like?
Yeah, I think it still probably varies by person. For myself, most of my time still working on figuring out how to help the business where to grow and where to spend and focus on. Here, I guess my personal interest to deal with very ambiguous questions and then decouple the business question, figure out the tech solution. That's something I have strong personal interest and passion about. And also like in working close with engineer, figure out a scalable solution. In Amazon, because we have a lot, really a lot of data. The key to success is always about how are you going to scale up? How are you going to make sure your solution can be scalable when our data volume tripled or when our customer base increased like a double, tripled, or even going further in the future?
Awesome. So, Eva, I mean, like, do you manage a team of data scientists? Is that what your role entails?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I was in I0 tier probably a couple months ago, and then I chose to pick up the managerial role like middle of this year. So I'm pretty new to the manager role at this moment, learning how to help others grow as well.
Fantastic. And do you also work with other departments, and how do you liaison with the other departments? I'm sure they all come to you for their, with problems, and you have a solution very clearly. So what departments do you work with, and how do you all, sort of cross-pollinate?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are many ways for this to happen in Amazon. First, like say one example is like a top-down. At a high level, we figure like a leadership team from SVP level or even higher at the basal level, we figure out there are opportunities those two org can work together and add a good value to customer or make things happen in a bigger, a better direction. So we call this top-down direction to let the two orgs start to work together. Second way is also very famous in Amazon. We call that a bottom up. Like two people chatted through coffee chat, for example, in an extreme situation, and they feel like, oh, this is a good idea, we should propose this one. Or like you move from one org to the other, and then you bring two orgs' knowledge together, propose the idea, and then leadership agreed with you. You get a chance to work with your older peer as well. The third one comes to say, some kind of external things. You attend a conference and you observe something is going to have big impact on every different area, and then you reach out to the owner in Amazon and then show your idea and initiate the conversation. That's the three main common ways you can see collaboration happens with other org.
Oh, interesting. Very interesting. And so I know, like you're working with so many different problems and you're finding solutions for it. What is the most exciting project that you're currently working on or have worked on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like my current role. Currently, I'm leading sponsored brand ads auction team. This is so generally speaking, my team owns two functions. First is the ranking algorithm for Amazon performance ads, which defines which ads is going to be presented in front of which customer. Second one my team owns is on the pricing and auction design. That part defines how advertiser is going to bid on different keywords or related things, and then figure out how we are going to charge them based on the pricing they are willing to pay. This is a very interesting domain area, allow me to apply machine learning science and the econometrics and auction design, even game theory together. So on one hand, it's the hard problem to achieve the optimal value as the three partner together from Amazon, shopper, and the seller together. And it's also an interesting part because so many moving parts together, one moving piece moving to one direction will have long cascade impacts. So how to modeling that one, complete all these kind of things in a simulation. That's why I picked this role a couple of months ago. It's fun and challenging together.
That's great. So, Eva, I know you've moved, you started your career at Amazon, very specifically as a BI engineer. And in a span of 5 years now, you moved to like a data scientist, senior data scientist, and then principal data scientist. What were the 2 to 3 factors very critical to this vertical trajectory in your career?
Mm-hmm. Probably there are many factors. The first one come to my mind is be curious. When I first joined as a BI part, my job is primarily about the BI related work, like reporting, dashboard related things. However, I find myself always interested in answering the why question. why this happened, why that happened. Is that really because one action we take, or is that because of something else? That gave me the opportunity to start work with different scientists, from research scientists to economists in Amazon, and then start to open that kind of like advanced analytic that piece of door to me. So keep learning more with other scientists in Amazon together, started my transformation to the DS role. Second part is probably all about like how to keep stretching yourself. Always believe you can do better, no matter where you are today, what you have delivered, no matter whether others think, oh, that's phenomenal, that sounds awesome, but always believing you can do better. Keep pushing yourself, you will find, yes, there are ways you can do better in general. So those will be my top 2 learnings.
Fantastic. And during your tenure, like during your time into these different roles, did you have, mentors, or did you take some additional training to upskill?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't hold a master degree or PhD on statistics or computer science, the common scientist background. I did learn a lot through Coursera and Udemy after I start to step in the DS, the domain knowledge edge. I did learn a lot from those online classes, and I did not go take an online degree. Primary because I figured like on one hand, the online class and internal training, Amazon has many internal trainings, and working with other scientists enough can help me complete my daily job and deliver what I want to deliver. And yeah, so sorry, what was the first question from you?
Yeah, so I was asking you about, how did you have like mentorship or additional training? And you did cover that, like, you got some training from Amazon, but you also took online courses because you did not have a degree in computer sciences. Mm-hmm. So yeah. What kind of online courses did you take that helped you in this transition? Because it's not very often that you hear people from business intelligence moving into data science. So I'm really curious to find out what were these online courses.
There are actually many. I think I completed 17 Coursera classes together. I can't remember exactly what I did, but start with very beginning and how to write a better like a Python code starting point to there was another causal related class from Coursera that I remembered a lot. And then later on moving to like a deep learning, like a graphic related database edge related work, just step by step. Once you come across something at work, you feel like, I don't know. And then reading internal doc, hearing from what other peers said, like you feel like you still cannot understand. That means it's time to find a more professional and a standard training.
Awesome. Great. And Eva, what during your whole evolution into this career as a principal data scientist, did you upskill, and what technicalities did you learn along the way that helped you to be where you are as a principal data scientist?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably both from coding side and then to the advanced, like say methodology wise, together, I would say. Yeah, from coding part, I used to use R before I joined Amazon. And then here, ever since the first day I joined the company, I was told no one use R here. Later on, I find there are still a lot of people. Whoever told me that 5 years ago, clearly that's not a fact. But clear learning Python and then to other scripting language later on to Scala actually did help me a lot in putting the model online. So the shopper can really see what you want them to see in general. So that's one side. The other side on advanced methodology part, say, again, internal, we have a lot of training. I'm not sure how that applies to everyone else, but Amazon did provide systematic training for everyone else who want to grow in the machine learning domain area. So you can grow from you can learn from basic math to more advanced to even deep learning related methodology. Yeah, so if you cannot get that from Amazon, probably there are other online resources as well.
Awesome. It's good to know that a company really invests in so much of training and development of their employees. Mm-hmm. And I guess that is why Amazon is what it is today. And, I'm sure even working for a company like that, you've come across your own challenges. And, what were some of your major challenges and how did you overcome those?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. of course, putting my first model online was still the challenge I remember in mind. And I was unable to do that by myself. I raised the question to my manager, who helped me find an engineer from a peer team to help me on that, who was awesome. And then he, of course, provided a lot of help in providing suggestion, building a infrastructure that I only need to own my part and then make the results into a location so he can pick that up and then put the model online. So that was the trigger for me to be ready to do more Git push from my daily job in general, and working with SDE directly and learning from other SDE was the first step for me to move there. So that was one interesting challenging. Second one could be on scalability part. Again, Amazon has a lot of data. So if you can build a prototyping using, for example, 1 gigabyte of data, does not mean that will apply to 1 petabyte of data. So a lot of interesting problem will happen once you move from small scale data to larger scale data. So when you build the solution for small scale data, keep in mind your data need to be applied to petabyte level of data. That is another interesting challenging that I have learned in the past couple of years as well.
Oh, interesting. Wow, that is some really great points there, Eva, and some really great takeaways. I will now be handing over this next section to my co-host Bhargavi, who has very specific data science questions for you. So over to you now, Bhargavi.
Thank you, Preeti. So Eva, like being in the data space myself, I know like data science is such a hot and upcoming topic space, and a lot of students want to be in it. And you mentioned that you finished like close to 17 Coursera courses, like without a degree in computer science, you were able to enter the data science space. So what, according to you, do you need to be a great data scientist? Like what does it take to be a great data scientist?
Yeah, from my personal experience, I would say start with the business domain. There are reasons you received this question. There are reasons you get this project deep dive to figure out why this question come out this way and why at this time. What kind of customer faced pain point we are trying to address through this project. Well, open your mind and figure out probably a better solution to deliver the project or results.
That's an interesting point. So what I'm hearing is like thinking out of the box, be creative, and try to really understand the customer pain points. And I do know that Amazon is very customer obsessed. So customer really comes first when you're devising solutions. But do you like apply certain frameworks when you're approaching a problem at Amazon? Like you mentioned, you're in the ad space and Amazon is pretty memo driven. But how do you think like a data scientist, or what frameworks would you apply to have a more directed thinking process to solve problems?
Got it. First, I'm very glad like Amazon customer obsession is still with you, even though you moved away from us. Yeah. From my side, first thing would be probably like say the critical thinking, working backwards. Again, I'm applying the terminology here. Again, we call that working backwards. So here's the business requirement. Here's the customer demand, and then perform gap analysis to understand where we are, what the gap is, and then apply your methodology to fill in the gap. This is going to be an interesting part. So first, you have your current toolkit about what methodology you have in your pocket and not what you can apply. It may not be the best one. So that's the time when the internal review process will help you. You can find other peers, other principal scientists, even senior principal to VP level expert show, here's the best I can do. I want to have a review with you to see whether you have other idea. They may propose very interesting idea or even methodology you have never heard about. But that's a time to stretch yourself. Like you have your way, they have their proposal. Do some kind of comparison, build some kind of prototyping, find the one that can best solve this problem at a scalable solution approach. So yeah, that would be my toolkit in addressing them.
That's interesting. So we really need to think about whether the solution is scalable and applicable to such a large number of customers.
Yeah.
So ML is a very interesting field, right? Because it's a learning process, like the algorithms learn as you go. And you don't really know from the results right on whether the model is working well or as expected. So how long do you usually wait or kind of how do you make sure that your model is accurate?
Yeah, again, I'm speaking in Amazon situation again. We have online testing. Anything on Amazon.com is online testable, except for pricing related exceptions. For things that are online testable, we have A/B web lab testing. You dial up your new algorithm to XY% of the traffic, and you can compare the performance immediately 5 minutes after dial up. So when this is not available, so when we cannot using online experiment to test the performance, we do offline simulation. That can also help give a direction results to see how things are performing. Here, like say recent Prime Day, we cannot do A/B testing on Prime Day, but we can do offline simulation to understand the performance.
That's very interesting. And ads is a very interesting space. Like you mentioned, it's very challenging to figure out like what ads to publish or are relevant to a specific customer. But can you give us like more examples or 2 or 3 directions in which data science can be leveraged in the future?
Sure. Yeah. For example, take a ranking, for example. So in Amazon, unlike Google and Facebook, Amazon Marketplace, you have sponsored placement and non-sponsored placement as well. We have 3 stakeholders. Our ranking algorithm needs to deliver value to guarantee, for example, the Amazon ads revenue, and then also improving shopping experience, also improving return on ad spending for advertiser or seller in general. With that being said, our ranking needs to achieve a multi-objective optimization results and then deliver the value for 3 stakeholders together. This is one area that we can apply like a science to help solve the problem.
Interesting. And you have your past data and you're using it to inform some future outcomes, correct? And a big topic right now in the data science field is how do we handle bias in your machine learning models? So how do you do that? And what are some considerations for making data science more inclusive when you're developing these models?
Yeah, I would say probably still a model by model situation. Different model may have different like toolkit or tips actually to address this problem. Usually, when making decision, what is right enough, actually we do trade off between like a return on spending edge and then the testing results. One thing you commonly see from scientists is like, okay, I only improve this one by 0.2%. It's not good enough. I want to keep working on that and keep improving that one. However, from business standpoint, probably 0.2% has already made a good shopper-faced impact. We can start to see like a substantial shopper engagement or return or retention edge. That means it's not good enough, but it's still good to put into production and start to deliver value to shopper and the seller together. So that's a trade-off all the scientists needs to learn and be comfortable about.
Yeah, like it's so important to have like a representative sample in your input data set so that you can make sure that you're catering to a wide population of customers. Okay, great. Thank you so much for the valuable insight. My next set of questions would be, I think, valuable for the students who are attending the session today. So what do you specifically look for while you're interviewing students within your team or the company for data science roles?
Yeah, so Amazon has 14 LP. That would be something we evaluate during the interview. Well, from interview tip standpoint, I would strongly recommend everyone to prepare your example in the format like here's the situation, here are the actions you take, and here are the results because of your action. I do observe like if your example is well structured, and then if your example is not well structured, the data collected by the interviewer can vary materially. So do preparation on your interview examples and structure them in the way that your recruiter trained you or suggested you. That will help you a lot during interview process. And any example works, no matter your intern project or things you, even at school, like your group work, something like any example can show your potential. That's something we are looking for during interview.
Thank you for sharing that. And for everybody who don't know what LPs are, they are 14 leadership principles, which Amazon really, really values. So make sure that you're up to date on that if you're going to interview with Amazon. And you mentioned that students can talk about their data science projects or internships that they've done in schools. Is there a way they can get a more hands-on experience while they're at school? And I know that there are also a lot of popular data science conferences and networking events, publications. So do you have any advice for them on that?
Yeah, your intern project, even case study at school, can show you are capable of applying the methodology to a real problem. That's something shows your strengths and the future potential. In real world, the same methodology holds. The problem might get a little bit complicated, or you get more limitation, like you cannot do this, you cannot do that, you have lower latency requirement edge. But then showing you are capable of applying a methodology to a real problem is the first step to moving forward into professional career. And then for conference, there are a lot, really a lot nowadays. I think last year NIPS has like 1,400 paper in general. We're joking, like if you read like say 30 paper per week, and you still cannot complete them in 1 year ash. So hence my recommendation would be pick up one domain area probably you are interested in, no matter natural language processing, computer vision, robotic, or just other things like pick up one domain area you are interested in, and then start to read the paper and attending conference in that domain area. That will be your first step to show you have enough science depth to go further and address the problem. Later on, you can expand your breadth to other domain area as well.
And one follow-up question on that, like, do students who want to enter the data science field, do they need to have good programming experience or coding in general?
I would say that's a big plus. Say in Amazon, say if you can only use MATLAB, or we are still considering hiring you as a data scientist, as long as you are interested and are willing to learn the coding language. If your model in real world, if your result is still in MATLAB, it will act challenging to your peers to understand what you have done and put them into production. So I would say that's a big plus and strongly encourage it.
That's good to know. But you mentioned MATLAB, but what are the top 3 skills you would recommend students to be strong on for data science?
Yeah, I would say first the basic statistic. That will be probably applicable to any DS role in general. Second one domain area you are interested in, or you want to enter. For example, if you are interested in NLP related work, probably get familiar with NLP related things. If you are asked the BERT model during the interview, but you don't know, you want the NLP job, that's going to add a challenging. The third one will be necessary coding part. It's okay, you use R, you use MATLAB, or use Python. Anything can be a good starting point for you. As long as you are willing to learn, be quickly adapted to that one. Like even we're all using Python today, it's still possible tomorrow something new will come up, and we are ready to adapt to that as well.
That's awesome, Eva. I know like data is such an evolving field, like tools and technologies become obsolete very quickly. And the key is to just be able to learn and be curious, like you said. So thank you so much. With that, one final question for you would be like, what's your favorite book? Or what is that one book you've gifted somebody the most or take inspiration from?
Probably that's the animation. Yeah. My most favorite book is from an animation called One Piece. Probably a lot of you guys have also read that one. It's a story about a group of friends who target on the same goal and work together to chase something in their dream. So that shows great passion and the motivation to work on something together. It's still I wrote that chapter in my B school essay about like 10 years ago, and I think that's still a characteristic influence me nowadays.
That's awesome. I'm pretty sure a lot of people would take a lot of inspiration from that book. With that, passing it off to Preeti to take up some of the questions from our Slido link. And these questions have been inputted by the students who are attending the session today.
Hi, Eva, it's me again. So moving on
Welcome
to
back.
our next, thank you. Moving on to our next section, we have a few questions from our audience, as Bhargavi mentioned. And okay, the first question here is, as a data scientist, have you found your work intellectually stimulating in terms of the machine learning methods you've used?
Kind of. It's interesting because in reality, we face a lot of limitation when apply different methodologies. The final results may not be the most complicated from methodology or comprehensive from methodology part, but then how that fits this business requirement best. One example is like we were trying to figure out how to better measure the device and user retention on Amazon device. We tried many statistical methodology and nothing can be scalable or stable. So we eventually actually find a very simple solution. We normalize by total number of active device. It's a very, very simple math, like just the total number of user divided by total number of active device, but that deliver the results and meet the business requirement. So it's a very interesting learning for me on that years ago. It's like no matter how hard or how complicated your methodology is, whether that can answer the business requirement.
Wonderful. Yeah, absolutely. And I know machine learning, I know it's a really rather new science and all of that, but it's very intriguing. There's just so much to still discover. So it's really very intriguing how far that gets, you know, in
I'd
how
use that word.
Yeah. So moving on to my next question from the audience. On a day-to-day basis, how much percentage of the tasks would you be involved in doing, like data engineering versus building models versus creating visualizations or dashboards?
I think that even varies by team internally. I assume that still varies by company or industry as well. However, strong data engineer skills will always be a plus for any data scientist in general. As long as you can self-serve, find the data by yourself, that will always speed you up and help you deliver results in general.
Wonderful. So Eva, we have already covered the technical skills that's required as an entry-level data scientist. What are some of the soft skills required to be a data scientist or to interview for a data scientist role at Amazon?
Yeah, the first one I will label as critical thinking. Whether the methodology or whether this is the how to decouple a question into different components and identify which one matters most, like leverage your critical thinking to figure out how to moving backwards step by step will be the first one I can think about. The second one will be how to influence and earn trust from folks who's not in this domain or not in this background. Data science still in general a new technology or domain to the world in general. So most people, especially most senior people, especially your leadership, they don't have exposed to this kind of technology or application in the past. So helping them understand how your methodology solve the business problem will help you earn trust from them and then improve your influence. So those will be probably the top two things I can think about.
Fantastic. And Eva, that is pretty much what we have today from the audience. And it was so wonderful getting all your inputs and getting your insights and how you kind of got into the data science field yourself at Amazon. And with that, we wrap up this masterclass. Thank you so much, Eva, and thank you to our lovely audience for joining us. Eva, we would like you to stay on for a few minutes because we really like your feedback on this session. To our audience, we will be sending out a feedback form after this session. So please take a few minutes to complete it. On completion, you will receive access to our YouTube videos, resources, and tools. Thank you once again, everybody, and have a very good night.
Thank you so much. I'm very glad to be able to participate in this.
Likewise, Eva, just give us a few minutes, yeah?
No problem.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.